Hey guys, welcome back. We're in my plant room. We're going to be potting up some crawling philodendrons today. We have 3 different varieties. We're going to be potting up the Philodendron mame, Philodendron Plumani, and Philodendron postazanum. And I want to give you guys an update on how these are doing now that I've had them rehabbing in water for a week. So they are still in their jars of water. And I've been just watching the roots and kind of just watching, how they're reacting because they're in a totally different climate. These came from Ecuador. They were imported to Florida, and then they came to the desert. We're in Tucson, Arizona. It is extremely dry here, and so there's always that rehab period. Anytime you order a plant online, there is going to be somewhat of a rehab period, depending on your climate and how much the plant has to adjust to it. So these have actually been rehabbing really well this past week, and I've just been growing them in water. So as soon as I got them, we unpacked them in that video and I put them in their jars of water. There's a couple that I cleaned up their roots, did a hydrogen peroxide soak because they did come in with some root rot, and that is the Plumani had a little bit of rotted roots on there, and also the postazanum. The postazanum was one that I was most concerned about, and now I'm the least concerned about it because it has already put out new roots that are over an inch long already, like all the way around its stem. So yeah, these roots are doing amazingly well. I don't know if you guys will be able to see the pink roots on there, but they are so adorable, and I'm going to be showing you guys up close when we get to potting these up. This mame is doing really well. It's got a new leaf that is hopefully going to make it. Hopefully, I mean, it did ship without leaves, so I don't know what kind of weather temperatures it went through to get here, but yeah, hopefully those will be okay. But this one, within 24 hours, instantly started facing the light, and it started perking up, so the stem is all perky now, the leaves, everything is filled out, so that one has rehabbed really well, really easily, and so far I am loving this little baby. And this one is another one we're going to get potted up today. So the Philodendron Plumani, it's the one that came with this really chunky stolon. Normally the stolon, or that thick hardy stem for a crawling philodendron, would be growing horizontally, and then the bottom part of where the stolon or stem is touching the soil, that's where it roots. So it just roots along that bottom side of the stolon as the plant kind of creeps along the floor. So when you get a crawling philodendron, you may end up with a cutting that they just planted straight in the ground, and in that case you will see this happen, where when the plant finally does grow, it grows and starts its brand new stolon here. So that is its horizontal, it's getting ready to start growing along the ground, and it will be dropping roots from under here. Now the Plumani, I was going to leave in the water a little bit longer just to kind of keep an eye on it, like what's happening down here in the roots, and then the first sign of growth I see, I will pot that up. But I'm just going to set that aside for now, and we're going to do these other 2 first. Alright, for soil, I'm going to be using my Aeroid soil mix, and I will be doing a separate video all about this and all the ingredients that I use, and also substitutes or alternatives in case you can't find the ingredients in your area. So alright, let's go ahead and grab the pot. I decided to go with just a small terracotta pot. I wanted to use a small pot to start because these don't have really hardy root systems. They have pretty weak root systems right now, so I don't want to overwhelm them with a larger pot, even though they will start to eventually grow horizontally. We can always worry about potting them later, but for now I'm just going to start them out in the proper size for the amount of roots that they have. And I always use a piece of window screen. I place that in the bottom of the pot just to keep the soil from escaping through the drainage hole. This is a base of cocoa husk, so the chunky kind. It's called chips and fiber, and so I use about 30% of that, and then I mix it with potting soil. And I use pumice, there is some orchid bark in here, charcoal, and worm castings. Okay, so we're gonna be potting up the mame first. So because the root system is quite small and weak, there's not much to hold it in there, I am going to be using a bamboo stick here. So when we go to pot up a crawling philodendron, one thing we can do is pot it to one side of the pot, and that way it has a few inches to be able to grow to the other side. Okay, so now that it's in position, I'm just going to backfill. And this little plant is really going to be mostly focused on producing its root system. It would be really nice to just take some cuttings of this one because it looks like it'd be really easy to propagate this little baby. Okay, let's get the postazanum out and I'll show you these roots. They are so cute. They're pink and fuzzy, and they're reaching around every which way, like every direction they're reaching around. So this we're gonna pot a little bit deeper just to make sure those roots can get into the soil since it's just starting to get rooted and it doesn't have much else to work with here. If it did have more roots on the bottom, then we would just bury it partway in the soil so most of the stolon could still be out. But in this case, we are gonna have to pot it a little bit deeper just to help it get started. And this I'm gonna be potting. Okay, yeah, we're gonna pot it towards the left side. I'll keep you guys updated on how these do settling into their pots and how the stolons do having to be partially in the soil. It did have a new leaf tip here, but the day after it arrived from, being in transit, it did start to brown out at the top, so I don't think that one's gonna make it. Okay, so I'll stake it up a little lower, probably like right about there. So I do have the stolon partially buried in the soil. The top of it is right here, so that part is visible. So it's kind of, a little bit above the surface, but not fully just sitting on top. But it's not really that big of a deal, I don't think, because out in nature, you're not gonna have the plants like perfectly positioned on the soil, right? Like they're gonna get covered with stuff, they're gonna have, debris on them, they're gonna be, partially covered here or there. And I don't know if you guys will be able to see, but I've got 3 little root tips that are just barely poking out of the soil. I didn't want to force those down into the soil. I started to kind of touch them, but I didn't want to force it because I don't want to snap those off. I'm just gonna go ahead and layer some sphagnum moss up top and just keep that lightly moist, like ever so slightly, just to allow those time if they want to grow downwards, then they can do that. Okay, so I've just got a handful of moss. I'm just going to moisten that. So kind of like an anthurium, I'm just going to do a little top dressing of moss like this for just a little while, and then I can always lift it up and check under there and see what's happening with the roots and see if those make it down into the soil or see what they want to do. Maybe they don't want to go in the soil. I'll just let them do whatever they want. So if I turn this towards the front, the direction where we made the stolon facing, you guys can see that it's slightly off center. So we'll see if it actually grows in that direction. All right, let's go ahead and get these in their little watering bins here. I'm using these containers. These are mushroom containers from Costco. I always save those because they're so handy for watering. They fit like all of my pots pretty much. So they're getting their first watering. So I'm gonna water it until I see it running through the bottom of the pot, which it is right now. So for the first watering, because these plants did get potted into bone dry soil, I like to really soak the soil. So I'll give it a chance, I'll soak it, and then I'll give it a chance to really drain through, and then I'll go back in and give it a second soak. And then I decided with this Plumani, I'm gonna leave this for now in the water just because I wanna wait and see if there's any signs of life that's gonna be happening here. I wanna see either some new roots forming or something going on, even some swelling at a node or something. I wanna see something before I just plop it into soil, because right now I'm able to spot any problems and I kind of want to wait. I want to make sure it's going to be okay. It does have some other roots which are right at the top here. If I show you that, right up here at the very top, I don't know if you guys will be able to see, but this part, where you see the live green, the fresh plant there, it does have some roots that appears to be growing into the stolon. So I'm not sure exactly what it's going to do with that situation. I don't quite know. I'm kind of just watching it, and I'll see. I don't know if anything like grows out the other side, or I'm not sure, but I'm just gonna leave this alone in the water for a little bit longer. Okay, so we're gonna take a little break right now, and then I'll be back in this video, and we'll go ahead and do an update on the Plumani, if there's any changes in the next few days, and then we'll go ahead and pot it up if it looks like it's gonna be okay. Okay guys, update time. This is the Philodendron Plumani. We're gonna be potting this up today, and actually there are 2 of these. I did cuttings on the plants already on 2 of the plants, and I will be taking you around the plant room and we'll do an update and I'll show you how they're doing. And these are 2 separate cuttings here. They both have rooted and they both have new starts. They both have new growth points. This one's just a little bitty growth point there. And I'm starting in relation to not where the leaf is, but where the growth is. So the new growth looks like it's going to be headed out that way, let's hope. And I'm going to pot it up so it's on the far side of the pot. And also the roots, trying to keep the roots down in the soil, because sometimes they're like, you know, they're growing all the way around the stem, especially after you propagated it in water. Oh, and I'm just using my same aeroid mix that we used before, so it's really chunky with cocoa husk, fiber, the chips and fiber, not the peat. And I've got a lot of pumice in here and some charcoal. I think I put a little bit of bark in this mix too. Sometimes if I have some bark chips, I will add that in. I think that's going to be the direction it decides to take, but we'll just have to see. And if I have to repot it later on, that's fine. The main goal is just to get it in the pot and get it out of the water and in the pot. I'll come in closer so you guys can see how this is potted up, but there's a growth point there. Hopefully it will be headed across the pot in that direction, but we will see. But yeah, I think that one worked out really nicely for a little cutting, and we'll see how that does. And then I've got this one that has much longer stolon on it and a larger growth point. It does have fewer roots though, but the roots are coming out the bottom, so that should be an easier one to pot up. So let's see if that one will work in this pot. Yeah, I think that should do. I don't know if I mentioned in this video earlier, but the crawling philodendrons, they do like lower, wider pots or longer pots where they're able to crawl along the surface. I do wish I had a low, wide pot, but all my cactus are in them right now, so I'm just gonna have to use this. I'll keep you guys updated on these. And I like to do care videos, but I like to grow the plants for quite a while first, so I can really give you some insight on, you know, the different nuances of that particular species, because plants definitely have their own little personalities. Yeah, we can always repot it later on if it gets to the edge of this pot and starts trying to get out. Okay, I'm gonna take these to the sink and give them a drink of water, and then I'll come back in here, take you guys around the plant room and show you where I have the other plants set up. Okay, I just brought the rooted Plumani cuttings back in after getting watered, and I just want to show you, because I don't know if it came up on camera earlier, but that is the little growth point right there on that one. And then this one has the big growth point there. But we'll keep an eye on those and see how they do. Hold on a sec, let me close my door because the air conditioning just popped on. It's gonna be loud. Okay, so I'm doing some plant room updates and I'm filming a video on that, so you're gonna see all the plant room updates that I've been working on in that video. Okay, let's start with the Monstera subpinnata and the update on how this one is doing. It decided to put out a big runner and then pop out 2 leaves at the very top. So it is looking pretty sweet though. I do love this plant a lot. It looks ridiculous with the 2 little leaves at the very top, but I still love it. That one is the newest leaf. It's just now barely opening. And this one, it put them out like almost at the same time. This one is still kind of hardening off there. But I'll tell you one of the mistakes, or actually probably a combination of mistakes that I made with this one. You see the tips here? See how it's yellow and then brown? At first, when I started seeing that, I thought, oh shoot, I must have overwatered it. And I didn't know exactly what was going on. But then I started looking at how it clawed underneath. And then I realized, oh, okay, that is salt burns. So it's likely a combination of over-fertilization and also my water, my tap water, which actually I use filtered water, but I wasn't changing out my filter. I have a Brita filter specifically for the plants, and I wasn't changing out the filter as often as I should have been. So I think it was a combination, but I do believe it was mostly over-fertilization that did the burn tips. But yeah, the clawing under of the tips is a dead giveaway for over-fertilization or excess salts in the water. And also if you have any crust on the soil, the surface of the soil, or around the stems at the base of the plant, that's another giveaway for excess salts, whether from fertilizer or just from your water, hard water. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of update you guys on that and my mistakes with it, and hopefully that can save someone else. And once you see that going on, then you can be like, oh, okay, I recognize what that is. Oh, I forgot to show you guys right here too, it's putting out a brand new leaf right there. So it popped those out all pretty quickly back to back, and I can't wait to see that new leaf. But yeah, it does have that long runner, and I don't know if you can see this thing, but it is just a mess. Like when it started putting out that runner, I was just like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this? I wasn't quite ready to propagate yet. You can propagate it because this runner does contain nodes, so I could always chop that, but I wanted to see what was going to happen with it, so I wanted to have it put out some leaves before I did anything with it. So it's all kind of crazy and twined around there. Over on this side we have the Postazanum. That is the newest leaf that it put out in my care. It is beautiful. They're getting bigger and bigger. There we go. So it's got a brand new growth point coming in. I can't wait to see that leaf. So I'm loving the Postazanum. It did end up getting spider mites, the poor thing. So I treated it and they haven't been back since, except on this Plumani. Oh my gosh, the poor thing has been through like 20 treatments. Oh my gosh, those things are like the worst. I mean, I don't know, I've heard thrips are pretty bad, but spider mites are just so persistent. So if we get in here closely, a plant that has a lot of spider mite damage, it almost looks like it's just faded. But when you get in close, you can see all those tiny little bite marks, basically, where it's been eating the plant. But yeah, that poor thing has been through a lot, and a lot of spider mite treatments. And there's the new growth point popping through the soil. I had some plants down here on the floor, which I'm going to be moving these to. For some reason, certain areas I found are more spider mite prone than others. I do have some theories about spider mites, and I think I'm going to save that for a different video though, but definitely the area that I put the plant made a difference. Yeah, so I'm just trying to keep up on treating them and also prevention. Prevention is definitely key. But you know, the spider mites, they get in, and it's just very hard to prevent them from coming in to begin with, and then you just got to stay on top of them pretty much, because I don't know if they ever actually fully go away. I think they're always looking for food, so I wouldn't feel bad if you get pests. It's just part of the process. It's part of owning plants. The pests don't know that they're pests. They're just like, oh, score, we have some really delicious leaves here to eat. You know, yeah, definitely part of the experience. This guy is doing beautifully though. Look, that one is its latest leaf there. Its leaves are getting huge. Philodendron mame, this one also had spider mites that I was fighting for a while, and I did propagate that one as well. So this is the original plant that we potted up, and it's putting out a new leaf here, so I can't wait to see how that looks. I do need to turn this actually on its side. When I potted it up, I was thinking, oh well, I'm going to propagate it, so I'm just going to let it grow upwards, because that was kind of the direction it was already trying to go. But really, it wants to grow along the ground, so eventually I will turn that on its side. But I'm just going to watch it for a while and see how tall it wants to grow. But I did propagate it over here, and I'll show you. So I chopped off 3 leaves, and I just have them all propagating in this little dish pot here. So we will see how that does. This one actually already has a little growth point coming out there. One of my favorites, how could I forget? This is the newest leaf that the crystallinum has put out, and it was surprisingly huge. I was not expecting it to put out a leaf that big. This is one of the original leaves that it came with, and then it put out this leaf, and then all of a sudden it put out this huge La Monstra here. But unfortunately, I guess maybe I wasn't keeping it watered enough or something when it put out this leaf, because it ended up like cracking and breaking right there. So that was when it was unfurling. It's got a new leaf starting in there. And you can see here, this also had a little bit of spider mite damage there, but we got it under control. I haven't seen any spider mites back on this one since. Now the only problem is finding a place for all the cuttings. I've got these 2 Plumani cuttings on my desk for now. I guess I'll leave them here until I find another space with good lighting. Now as far as the care goes, you guys saw the type of soil that I use, so it drains pretty quickly. It's very chunky and it has a lot of aeration in it. So it does dry out fairly quickly. I water about once a week. It's summertime right now, so that changes during winter time. Sometimes with certain plants, if they're in a smaller pot and they're drying out really quickly, it might be like every 4 or 5 days. And then lighting, I try to give all my plants fairly bright light. Not direct hot sunlight though. I have windows in here that are facing south and then southwest pretty much. So both of the windows that are in here, they let in a lot of natural light, but right now during summertime we don't get a lot of direct sunlight coming in until like very late in the evening through the west window. So just to give you an idea, so the plants at that window, the west window there, those get just bright light all day long pretty much. And the blinds are normally open. I just close them because otherwise it's gonna be super backlit for you guys and you won't be able to see very well. But yeah, my blinds are normally wide open. And let's see, is there anything else? Oh, grow lights, yes. Oh, I should do a separate video on grow lights because I do have 3 Spider Farmer grow lights in here, which I absolutely love these lights. These are the Spider Farmer 2000. They are amazing. They grow the plants really, really well. The plants just absolutely love them because they give off a lot of light without being too hot. They're very cool lights. And also they are dimmable, so you can adjust it to the type of plants that you grow under them, which is awesome. So I have 3 of the Spider Farmer 2000 lights. I have another one over my desk here and another one over there, which is right in front of the window, I know, but it just fit perfectly to get the plants that are down below there that needed a little bit more light, that they couldn't quite reach the window. So that's kind of more of a supplemental. And then I have this Spider Farmer up there. That one is a different style. And that one helps out the plants on this side of the room. And actually that light is super bright. That one is not dimmable. I'll have these linked below too if you want to see the exact lights that I'm using. This part of the room looks extremely messy right now. I know I have all those hanging plants. I'm propagating a bunch of plants for resale right now, so that's why it's like extra crazy. But yeah, as soon as those sell, it will lighten up the space here. But yeah, lighting is definitely a priority. I try to give my plants plenty of bright light, but not hot, intense sun. So that's the bright indirect light that everyone talks about, right? I do try to keep everything just out of the line of fire of the sun. I'm using our largest humidifier in this room too. This is the Ecuagenera humidifier and it is a top fill. It's amazing. It's a large capacity, so I don't have to refill the water too often. It's 49% right now and 87 degrees. So that's pretty typical for what it's been so far during the summertime. I don't let it get too much higher as far as the temperature. I try to keep it in the 80s. Otherwise, at 50% humidity, it just gets too hot back here. I don't have it on right now either, but I do normally keep a fan going. Yes, they have a fancy Dyson fan. Not really, just kidding. I mean, it's a Dyson, but it's from Costco, so it was pretty inexpensive actually for what Dyson stuff normally goes for. But I normally have that oscillating back and forth to give them plenty of airflow and air circulation in this room. I think that's pretty much it. That's all I can think of. If you guys have any other plant care questions for the tropicals or for cactus or anything, or jungle cactus, I'm kind of getting into the jungle cactus too. They're pretty neat. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any other questions. Have you guys ever seen these pseudolithos? These are pretty crazy. Oops, hold on, let's try to get that in focus. Crazy, weird little houseplants. If you guys ever want a tour of like my weird tiny houseplants, I'm kind of into tiny plants too. I love them because they don't take up very much room. And then the green lithops, these are malachite lithops. Malachite is actually gemstone. I guess that's how they got their name. But those are pretty cute. Got a couple of pots of those. Obesas. Oh, and I know I mentioned the windows and how this is a south-facing window, and then we have the west-facing window over here. So since this is kind of like the south corner of our house, it does get really hot in the late afternoons. So I will open up the AC vent, because normally I keep that closed just to preserve the humidity level back here. But I will open that up in the afternoon if it's a hot day and just let it cool off back here. I should do a separate video on care for the different seasons though. Like summertime is definitely so much different than winter time. We're gonna be doing a bonsai repot on this ponytail palm. I think that should be really fun. It's in a regular pot right now, but I think it would be really cool to find an interesting low profile pot for it. All right, it's time to get this fan back on because the plants are probably wondering what happened to the airflow. All right guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I've got more work to do for filming the plant room video, so the updates and hacks video. Keep an eye out for that one. It'll be coming very, very soon. And I've got to get back to work on that. So I will let you guys go. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys stay happy and healthy, and I will see you in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.